Kaustubha Das here with a big announcement for Wisdom of the Sages listeners. This August will be Ashram Month at the Super Soul Farm. Simple ashram living, rising early, morning kirtan, yoga and pranayama, healthy vegan and vegetarian meals, farm seva and being immersed in nature, and then gathering in the evenings for kirtan and readings. Plus, each week we'll have a lead presenter teaching a different facet of the philosophy and lifestyle of Bhakti-yoga. Week number 1 will be the exceptional Bhakti Lata teaching a course called The Beauty of Bhakti, bringing the culture of love and devotion into our lives. Week number 2 is my brother from another mother, Raghunath, teaching Falling in Love with Divinity, the Bhakti-yogi's method for opening the heart. And week number 3 is myself with a course called Following the Path, examining the history and teachings of Bhakti-yoga. You can come for 1, 2, or all 3 weeks, and the pricing is by donation. For more dates and information, go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. Peace. Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to today's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
You don't know what day it is.
It was Walk on Wednesday. What is it today? It's Thursday. How are you today, Kaustubha?
I'm okay, Raghunath. I'm experiencing technological frustration with this microphone that I can't get to work, so I'm stuck with this one again today, but hopefully tomorrow I'll be up and going.
Technologically, and it makes me look better.
That gives you joy, doesn't it, Raghunath? What about that
spiritual
litmus test? Yeah, what about that litmus test?
That's the litmus test of the materialist. He's happy for another's distress. I feel myself better because your microphone is not working that good. Don't worry, deep down, I know you're better than me. Prabhu, Mara, what's going on today? Do we have any announcements here for our
We do.
Sagers?
We have Bhakti Recovery Group meeting at noon today. And for our Patreon members this evening at 7 p.m., Michelle Berger is offering an asana class. And then also for our Patreon members this Saturday at noon, it's another one of Seth Lieberman's Harmonium meetup groups.
Oh.
Seth Lieberman, he's my new guy. We hang a lot together, me and Seth.
Do you love him?
We're having a painting party on Sunday at the farm. I should have announced that offline, but contact me if you're interested in the Paint Super Soul Farm party. All right, can I give you the nuggets of the day?
Yeah. Several nuggets today?
It's multiple nugget day. Okay. It's multiple nugget.
But it's still Greek week.
Yes, it is Greek week. The first one's from a good friend of mine named Diogenes.
Okay.
They only had one very dramatic name. Ever noticed that with the Greeks?
Is it Diogenes? How do you pronounce it? Diogenes?
Mary, you went to college. You tell us.
Yeah, I don't know.
You studied African studies in college. What is this? Diogenes?
I think so.
What was your major again, Mara?
History.
African studies and
African studies, African diaspora studies.
And history?
Yeah.
Same as Yogeshri, right? You guys have parallel lives.
We do have parallel lives. She's just better at everything than I am.
Come on, you can do a press handstand.
Right.
She's not the #1 caterer in Columbia County.
Yeah, she caters Lara bars. That's the ongoing joke with Yogeshwari. But those Lara bars give her the press handstands. Oh, your delicious homey food, and we can't get our butts over our shoulders. That's the problem. It's okay.
Back to Diogenes.
He has the most. He has the most. Who is the most content with the least? Read that again.
Please.
He has the most. Who is most content with the least? That is an interesting little riddle. He has the most. Who is most content with the least? I like that.
And in a similar vein.
What if you're content with the most?
Either way.
Then you are the most content. Okay.
The point is, if you took away the most, would you still be content?
Good point.
If not,
Diogenes.
you actually don't have the most.
Okay. All right. Here, this is from Epictetus.
That's how you pronounce it. We really should work on this before the show. Is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. Epictetus. Yeah, I don't know. Epic.
Wealth.
It's epic guy.
Here's one. Ready? Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants.
Okay. We're talking about desire here, right?
We're talking about desire, and it possesses us.
Let's read it again.
Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants.
Okay. So we've got the most, we've got wealth if our desires are under control.
And this is from one of our favorites, Socrates. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Shutting down all desire altogether, huh?
I don't know if that's what he's saying, but he's talking about simplicity, contentedness, being learning, having that faith, right? That without all these things, I'll be okay. As a matter of fact, I'll probably even be a little bit better. And the more that I get, that struggle to get more and more and more just complicates things, ultimately makes my life more difficult. And you know what this reminds? It reminds me of a famous Bhagavatam verse. All three of these nuggets.
I know what you're going to say, but say it.
You know, who was it spoken by?
I can't remember. I can't even, I can't even quote it, but I know where you're going with this.
Okay. This was spoken by Lord Vishnu himself in an adorable little form, but not sweet baby Krishna. It was a dwarf.
Amana.
He took a dwarf form, right? This will come up later in Bhagavatam. We're going to hear about how Vishnu incarnates as a very beautiful brahmachari monk dwarf, right?
Can you even say dwarf anymore? Is that appropriate?
I think you can say dwarf.
I don't know if you can, Prabhu.
Say little person or something like that. Dwarf. Anyway, we can.
The incarnation of a little person.
He was a dwarf, and so he was offered. It was a similar thing, right? The offering of boons. He was offered boons by Bali, who was kind of like Bali was like an incredible. It's another one of these Bhagavatam dharmic reversals. He was born in the family of the Asuras, right, of the demoniac,
right.
But actually, he had great devotion to Lord Vishnu. He's a great devotee, and but he was still kind of like meant to represent the Asuras, right? Like he was kind of like
Asuras are the bad guys. Just putting it out there, in case you're unfamiliar with these words, the Asuras are the demons.
Yeah, and so Vishnu appeared before him in this dwarf form, and when this powerful leader or king sees a brahmachari, a monk, it's natural that they offer them, some charity, they give them some donation. And he was so impressed by the presence of this monk. He kind of had that open faith where he just said, ask me anything and I'll give it to you. Right? But what happened then? Remember? Not what he said, but how he was advised.
Well, he said I want 3 steps of
No,
land.
okay.
And then when he said he wanted 3 steps of land, the king Bali was going.
Well, I was going to say even before that, Raghunath, remember the guru of the demons.
He warned him. Sukracharya starts saying, "Don't trust this guy.
Don't trust this dwarf.
Don't trust this dwarf. There's an evil dwarf coming to bother you."
Now he's good. Yeah, this is Lord Vishnu in disguise. He's coming to just take everything from you. Don't offer him anything he wants. And that becomes an example of when it is that there are circumstances whereby one may reject the order of the guru.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, he asked for 3 steps of land, and then he started explaining. He said, "Why do you want 3 steps of land? Come on, I own the entire universe." Imagine if a guy who owned everything, and you come up to, and he'll say, "I'll give you whatever you want," and you say, "Give me a nickel." Give you 5 cents. Why? I can give you whatever you want.
A lot more.
I'm okay with 5 cents.
And 3 steps for a dwarf are like little steps too. So it's like even
steps. It's extra. Yeah, it's not even 3 giant steps. And so he quoted this beautiful verse. You got the verse?
Yeah, he said, so this was, again, Lord Vishnu in the form of the dwarf speaking.
Little person.
He's called Vamanadev. He's also called Trivikrama, right?
Yeah.
Which means
Trivikram means he took 3 steps, like a tri.
3 steps.
Vikram, krama.
That's a word nerd thing for you, right? Because that tri, meaning 3, is there in Sanskrit.
Yeah. Yep. That's like a tricycle.
Yep.
And krama, like we have this vinyas krama, like the different steps of vinyas.
Yeah, so 3 steps.
Vikram.
So he replied when he was said, "Well, I can give you anything. Why are you asking just for 3 steps?" So this was his reply. He said, "Oh, my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within all the universe to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled."
So good.
Should I read that again?
Read that again.
Okay.
Read that again.
You got to listen a little carefully because the editing, the way it's done, is a little tricky, but I'll try to read it so that it's easy. "Oh, my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within the entire universe," I'm kind of editing it as I go, so now I'm saying entire twice, but even all that there is within the entire universe, which can satisfy one's senses, cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled. Right? If you're searching for happiness through gratifying your senses, you're not going to reach the point ever where you say, "Okay, that was enough. That was great. I'm satisfied." No, you want more. You want more. And you'll never be satisfied. Whereas a wiser person, as our Greek friends are telling us, they're actually finding their wealth through being content with little.
The power of tolerance.
Tolerance. Yeah.
It was the first, I'm rereading in the last couple of days. I have to reread through my manuscript of my memoirs.
What's going on with the memoir, Raghunath?
It's happening. I'm just the editors chopped the whole thing up. So I'm rereading it, and as I'm reading it, I'm going back to how frustrated I was and how I could not. When I first went to India, it's so different than Ranaswami's journey home. Mine is the journey of complaining. The journey of complaining about everything in India. It's like, oh, it's too hot. It's too cold. I'm too crowded. This person's like leaning on my shoulder. They have no sense of personal space. I'm complaining about the food. I'm waking up early. I'm catching a cold. I'm getting a fever. It's just complaining. It's just, I was like looking back, and the comfort and the cushion and the softness we have in America, and we demand it. We don't demand we have a car. We demand we have a car with a winter package. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We demand, we have higher demands. Our comfort, we think that by turning the comfort level up, we'll become more satisfied, but it makes us completely intolerant. Oh my God, the AC is out. What am I gonna do? The AC is out. It brings whole new levels of discomfort. Is the catering to our senses. So when I first went to India, and India then, especially in the 80s, it was like third world-ish, everything. There was, you couldn't, those third-class trains we used to take, and it was unbelievable, the discomfort compared to my American standards. And everybody was happy except me. Everyone's just tolerant. The better thing to push isn't the winter package. It's the push tolerance.
There you go.
Because you get over your mind. That's why all the cold plungers out there, people who appreciate a good cold plunge. One thing it develops, those cold showers in the morning, is it develops, I'm going to do it no matter what my mind says. It gets you over a yappy, complaining mind.
Very interesting. Yeah, you learn to go. This was part of the training that we had as monks, right? Is that you go from your intelligence to action and you bypass the fickle mind.
The mind. I like that. Bypass the mind.
Yeah, bypass the mind. You just go, you know what's right.
We spiritually bypass it.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Spiritually
another
bypass
kind of spiritual
the mind.
bypassing. Yeah, you spiritually
bypass. That's the real spiritual bypass.
Yeah. Technically, it means that we're going from the buddhi, from the intelligence, the reasoning part of the mind, bypassing the manas, which is like the fickle part of the mind that's just programmed to like or dislike things. You say, you know what? I'm going right over that.
I don't want to do it today. I don't want to get up. I want to hit snooze.
Yeah, no, you just do it. Right. And you
My
become
snooze
happier.
button is always like, snooze, come on, hit me. I'm the snooze button. Hit me. You know, you need it. Rest is important.
Like
Dr. Rest.
When Catherine Handstand Queen comes out of that cold ocean plunge, she's like living, you're like alive, right? You just
you know what? Because and that's the thing. If we can train the intelligence, really fortify the intelligence, then the mind has no power. This is what sadhana is. This is what, all you guys who are showing up on Zoom every day or listening as the others every day, and you're saying, I'm going to do it every day. That is training the intelligence to hear wisdom on a regular basis. It develops an intelligence muscle that when the mind gives some excuse, you're like, nope, later. And you just walk right past it. And all of our good habits, they become, when we can ingrain them in intelligence, where we don't even have to think about them, because think about them implies I'm using that fickle mind. Then when we just act on intelligence, our life becomes much safer.
And then you know what happens?
Happier.
Huh? You know what happens then?
Then you conquer the mind. You
conquer the mind, because the mind is like, and who was it? I think was it Henry David Thoreau? No, or was it? It was either Henry David Thoreau. It was either back in the Thoreau, or it might have been the Herman Hesse week. But who was it that said, like to wear down a path in the mind? I think it was Thoreau, right? You have to keep walking that same path again and again, just like in the woods. If you're going to create a new trail, you have to walk on that path again and again and again, and then it becomes like a clear path. So when you take your intellect, your reasoning ability, the buddhi, and you say, I'm going to do this because it's right and it's good for me. And then even though the manas, the fickle mind is complaining, but you do it again and again and again. And eventually that fickle mind becomes adjusted to it. And it actually begins to say, I actually like this. I actually like waking up early in the morning. I actually like hearing Bhagavatam every day. I actually like taking my cold plunge, And then that's where the mind shifts from becoming one's enemy to one's friend. Now it's working for you. You've
Very interesting.
You've acquired a taste, for something that's actually spiritually healthy.
Yeah. I mean, we do that with our physical health, obviously, as well, our dietary health. And, sometimes we get tricked into it. Sometimes we get tricked into it by good association, Yeah,
that's right. You get pulled along.
You get pulled along. I mean, Mara didn't know what she stumbled into.
No,
so like, can I help? Hey, can you help me with something, Mara? Can you help me with this podcast? And later, next thing you know, we have this accountability every day where you got to show up and listen to the Bhagavatam every day. And then you get swept up in a transcendental riptide. It's quite wonderful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't help it, but I have to show up every day, even the days I don't want to. And it's wonderful. I'm grateful. I'm really actually very happy. I get to I have to read the Bhagavatam every day.
And that makes you happy rather than so many other things, right? That gets back to our original thing. Like, in other words, what do I need to be happy? I wake up early. I got this book, Bhagavatam. Discuss it. What else do you need? Yeah. Let that be our happiness, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, like when we tune into a television show, right? You know how much effort goes into creating that television show? It's like all the money that goes into that, all the effort that was put into that.
Yeah.
Then all the advertising that goes into that, and, like it's just like a big, massive endeavor to entertain you for a little while, and likely you walk away not a better person, but maybe a little bit of a worse person for it.
Maybe a little worse.
Yeah, maybe a little worse person. Maybe your mind is just a little bit more disturbed or distracted or attached to something that you weren't to before. So all that effort, and then you give up your own valuable time to experience it, where it's like, I could just be content here in this Bhagavad time. It's just, the sage, scratched this into palm leaves like thousands of years ago. It's still with us, give me this wisdom. Let me discuss it with a few friends and let's be happy.
This reminds me of our good friend Parjanya Maharaj. Remember him?
Oh, Parjanya Maharaj, and the Patel Motel up in Syracuse.
He might still live there. No, he might be dead. Actually.
He may have passed away. It's been some time.
Did he pass away? Okay.
I don't say he did, but he was an elderly man, and that was like 30 years ago, right?
So. A Gujarati Indian, and he lived in Syracuse. Yeah. And whenever our band, when we were brahmacharis, used to play in Syracuse, I wonder if Henry stayed there with us. We'd call him up, and we'd say, yeah, he did. Okay.
He had a hotel.
And so he owned a little hotel. And when I say hotel, I'm not talking about a Motel 6. I'm not talking about the Hilton. I'm not talking about the Four Seasons. He owned a crummy little motel.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, it was a simple little motel.
By nowadays standards, motels it's where you like sell drugs and murder people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what a motel is. Yeah.
Think about it. Like motels.
They go there to murder people.
Motels are crummy. Okay. And anyway, he owned this little simple hotel, and we knew he was there. And he was from Gujarat. Gujarat, everybody worships Krishna. So we would knock on his door and say, "Hey, we're a bunch of brahmacharis. We're traveling around. Can we stay here?" And he'd be like, "Yes, please." And he'd invite us into, every motel has a little place where the owners live, and you go in there. And they give you your room and they sit you down, and then the wife comes out and they start making you this Gujarati feast, and it was wonderful. And they invite you in, and then I got to really know Parjanya Maharaj, and he just sat me down. You got to understand, he was probably like 68 at the time, and I was 24, and he would just read me the Bhagavatam. And I was, awesome. Then I picked his brain. And now you got to understand, for everybody with beautiful material aspirations and dreams, this was a humble existence. It wasn't a glamorous hotel he owned.
Yeah.
He lived a simple life, and he, I guess his rooms paid his mortgage, and he basically said, yeah, I have this hotel, and these people rent the rooms. It pays for the living, and I'm sending my kids to college, and it affords me the life to read the Bhagavatam every day. And his material
that
desires,
was the goal, right?
And as a brahmachari, I was like, this man is so wise.
Figured it out.
To everybody else, in material sense, you might think, this guy's sort of a loser. Look at his crappy hotel. He should be opening 3 or 4 more of these motels. He should get passive income from all these places. He should, with the huge material. Yeah. He had a simple dream, and his dream was about controlling his desire, and just focusing his desire on hearing and chanting about Krishna. And his mind was crystal clear. And he didn't know me from anybody. I didn't even tell him I didn't even tell him I was in a band. It was just like, okay, your brahmachari's coming through. Come and sit down. We'll take care of you. Never asked us for anything. And then we were just on our way. And so it's that type of beautiful mind that gets overlooked in material culture. There's like a beauty about the Parjanya Maharajas of the world and lessons, Yeah,
that reminds me, I think I told you this before, but when the Radha Damodar deities who were behind me that I had made in Jaipur, that they were made of this kind of like well-established family business. What was a Pandey and Sons, in Jaipur.
Yeah,
and there was the man that ran Pandey and Sons, back in the 70s. He created so many incredibly beautiful deities that are all around the world now, right? Radha Krishna deities.
Pandey and Sons.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And so, but when I went there, it was like, I guess it was like 2007. and he was retired, right? And his sons were running the business.
Mm.
And when I walked into the place, he was sitting in front of the like sitting on the, you know, right in front of the shop on the sidewalk, sitting in a chair with these really thick Coke bottle glasses, you know. You could see he was like almost, it was like he was almost blind, you know, probably all those years of sculpting and everything. And he had his japa mala in his hands. And every day he would just sit there happily chanting his japa in front of his shop, you know. His sons are in there taking care of the business. He's just sitting out front. He's retired now. And his mind is happily absorbed in chanting Maha Mantra. That's a life goal right there, right? Like, let me be happy very simply. But when you actually lessen all of your other desires, the feeling and the beauty of just this mantra is enough to fill your heart with happiness. Mm. Jennifer also we were back to Thoreau, because Thoreau also, you see, wisdom, when it's true, it's popping up in different places. Thoreau said, my greatest skill in life has been to want but little.
Ooh.
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 There you go. All right.
I like that.
All right. Greek week here.
Greek week. These Greeks borrowed a lot of good stuff.
You are still angry with the Greeks.
Really? I'm angry with the Greeks. I mean, all this stuff is spoken by Vamanadeva. Okay, here's another interesting little squirrel trivia here.
All right.
Did you see what the pious pundit from Finland put on the board? Sargrahi wrote.
Oh, the different names of
the dwarf, the little person avatar. Yeah. Mara, can you look if it's appropriate to say dwarf? Can I still say that word?
Is it politically correct to say dwarf?
I think you can say dwarf, but you can't say midget.
You can't say midget.
Yeah.
Why is midget offensive?
I think dwarf is like a medical term.
Yeah, it's a medical term. Midget's not.
We're gonna have this confused. What can I say? I can't survive in this world anymore.
There's got to be like an, you know, there's got to be like a memo we get. It's just automatically you're supposed to understand you can't say that. And who comes up with that? Like who comes up with like, you can't say this word now? Is there a group of people, a group of scholars, a group of like
it would
hipsters?
Be interesting to trace it, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, you can't say that.
According to
a group of hipsters, a group of hipsters. We are in the committee of hipsters, and it's completely not hip to say this word any longer.
As a matter of fact, it's hateful.
Yeah, hipsters. Yeah.
Is it okay to say hipsters?
You know what I find hateful? Calling me Raghu. That's hateful. That's a hate crime.
Oh no, that's gonna be a hard one.
There's a group of hipsters in my home right now, and they've all agreed. Calling me a half of a name is diminishing me by half as much.
But Roku is the name of the dynasty.
Yes.
So
but I am not.
It's complete in itself.
I'm not a half a man, Kaustubha.
I'm not saying
to be like a whole person. Okay. What are these names? Where is this? I'm looking on the message board. It's gone out of control. What the names? Okay, so there's Vamana. I think that just actually means dwarf.
Okay.
Then there
is. Say that?
Can I say that?
Then there's
then there is Trivikram, and then there's Upendra. What does Upendra means? Upa means like up.
Upa can mean like a subcategory or a smaller thing or a less significant thing. Like for instance, there's a lake is called a kunda, and a upakunda would be like a pond or something like that. So maybe it also refers to his smaller size, you know.
Upendra, the lord of the smaller people. All right, what about Uru Krama? He's called Uru Kram. What does Uru mean? That's true. That's
Krama,
a good.
We know.
Any of our pundits can tell us. Yeah, like Mikhail Rosselli, Chichoni says Parikrama.
Oh, I think I know another name for him too. You know another name for Vamanadeva?
For Vamanadeva?
Yeah, Indranuja.
Indranuja.
You know what that means?
No.
Well, Anu means to follow. And so it means he follows Indra. It means the younger brother of Indra, Indranuja.
I don't get it. He's the younger brother of Indra?
So in other words, if you by being the younger brother, you like the first one was born and then he was the following, you know, he followed in that sense. He was born after him. You understand?
He was born after Indra?
In other words, if you had a younger brother, you could say that that younger brother followed you. You were born first, then he was born. You know, like that. Why are you so bewildered by what I'm saying? It's rather simple.
Anyway,
in other words, there's the first brother, right? The first son, and then the next son is the following son, and then the ones that follows after that. You know, so because he's Indra's younger brother.
Oh, okay, all right. So Sangrahi says Upendra means the brother of Indra.
Okay, the brother of Indra.
Okay,
yeah, Upendra. Right.
Naga Upendra. Okay, yeah. Upakund. Naga Upakund. Okay.
Many names.
All right. This was good. This was a good morning. Desires. And of course, going back to other great scholars, there is the first shelter record called Kaustubha.
Perfection of Desire?
Perfection of Desires. So not only just
what about that no compromise? So that's one's got the best cover on it.
No compromise.
Raghunath's like a monk and he's like laying it to someone.
Yeah, I'm laying into some poor innocent college student. Listen, you're in total
surrender
Maya.
your life.
Like I'm pointing to somebody like on the back cover, like pointing to them. Perfection of desire. We don't just sort of like smother, you know, you put a candle out with one of those candle smotherers, candle dousers. You know what I'm talking about, Mara?
No.
Mara, come on. Don't you ever go to church where they put those things over the candles to put them out?
Oh,
candle snuffer. A snuffer. So we're not trying to do that with our desires. We minimize our desires, but we also refine our desires. We are allowed to have desires, but what are we desiring? You know, refine what we're desiring. And we want, our desire should bring us higher, bring us closer, make us more connected. Just like we don't just say we don't eat food because I've been eating nothing but Doritos and cheese doodles and Hostess cupcakes. So I can't say because I eat those, I don't eat any longer. No, I just eat food that makes me stronger, healthy, more connected, organic, etc.
There you go. Okay, Raghu, we got Bhagavatam to read here today.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the Supreme Lord, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisance at their lotus feet. Where is we, Mara? Canto 4.
From Canto 4, Chapter 20, Text 30.
Chapter 20.
Text 30.
Text 30. Why don't I just keep it open? Why don't I keep it open? Why do I have to do this every day?
Why? I don't know.
I've got bad habits. Indra Nuj also as well. Sorry, man, she is a wealth of, her husband's a professor. She sounds like a professor.
I got a class with him again at my Oxford class.
They're like two smart. It's like when two smart people
talk about
married
stuff
over dinner. They're probably talking about smart things. Oh, what do you think about this Sanskrit configuration?
I have a feeling it's like that.
Smart people. What do smart people talk about over dinner? I gotta get
Read
smarter.
Read the verse. Now this is Prithu.
Ever wonder, like, man, my realization on a regular basis is like, how have I gotten as far as I've gotten with my intelligence as low as it is? It's like I should be homeless with the brain like I got. I should be rolling around on the street with my hand out begging for change right now.
That was offensive, Raghunath.
What?
Just kidding. Let's go.
Did I say something bad? How dare you say
it could be construed from that homeless people have
Are
low
unintelligent. That's a
yeah.
good point. You're right.
Okay.
They might just be
Have suffered
insane.
some difficult
Or unfortunate, or
just some difficult circumstances.
the economy. They lost their job. COVID shut down their business.
That's right. Okay, now we've got Prithu, who's been offered any benediction. He's refused them all. He didn't want anything material. He could have had anything he wanted, right, Raghunath? Anything.
First of all, you got to understand, he's Lord Vishnu is the owner of everything.
Okay.
And he's saying, I will give you whatever you want.
Whatever you want. What did he ask for?
Big, think big, dream. You got to ask the universe, people, for exactly what you want explicitly. That's
big.
how you will get all your desires fulfilled. Not necessarily.
Okay.
But if Lord Vishnu was offering it, yes, you would.
So it seemed like he asked for two things.
Right. He wanted to hear from the lips of a pure devotee.
Okay. And?
Okay. What was the other one?
He wanted to serve like in a humble and menial way, Lord Vishnu.
Right. Like the goddess of fortune.
Like the goddess of fortune. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what he asked for. And now he's going to say something else about like, you're offering me all this stuff. But actually, well, let's hear what he has to say. Text 30.
Text me. My dear Lord, you have said to your unalloyed devotee.
What you have said. Lord,
what you have said to your unalloyed devotee is certainly very much bewildering.
Mm.
The allurements your offer is in the Vedas are certainly not suitable for pure devotees. People in general, bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, engage themselves again and again in fruitive activities, enamored by the results of their actions.
Interesting, right?
People bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, right? So
but
what are the Vedas?
Good?
They're books of knowledge, but they encourage you to work to get something back by the higher echelon managers of the material universe. You do a little puja, you do a little mantra to please the gods, and they will award you with stuff, right? So you offer, okay. So
and not even just like the Maserati, right? But things like, like
good health, good family, children, good children,
crops, bountiful, harvests.
It's not like you're asking for,
although the people do want wealth, and people do want birth on the higher planets and greater material enjoyment, long life, things like that.
Yeah, actually, some people want mystical powers to harm other people. There's a lot of stories
that's
about
for yoga. You go there for that, like mystical yoga. But so so he's saying, Lord Vishnu, you're offering me these things, and just like in the Vedas, they offer people material things, but really these just bewilder people. Even the Vedas, which are good, right? They're meant to elevate you. But once you've reached one stage, as you go beyond that stage, then it's actually going backwards if you go back to that, right? The way I look at it, Raghunath, is that the Vedic literature, again, the four Vedas, and then they progress, the Upanishads are kind of connected with them, but it's like a further progression in thought. There's a shift. And then there's a shift when you get into, like, say, Bhagavad Gita, and especially concluding with Bhagavatam. It's taking us through, let's say,
Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam go so well together, don't they?
Oh, they do, Raghunath.
They do. It's like, okay, I've made you cake. You're like, oh, it's a delicious cake. And then you come in with the frosting. But there's frosting for your cake. Right. That is the Bhagavatam. It frosts the cake. And then you come in, but there's a strawberry for your frosting.
Or you could say,
10th canto. That's the 10th canto, the strawberry.
Yeah, very nice. You could say that that the Bhagavad Gita is like a cupcake, and then Bhagavatam is like a big cake. How's that?
You just stepped on my cake analogy.
No, I didn't. I took your cake analogy and ran with it. I thought I loved it. That's why I just kept going.
Well,
with
I
it.
think I'm going to go with mine, because the cake is delicious, but the frosting is what makes it more special. You know what I mean? Okay. Whereas the cupcake is just a little cake. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But you don't
get Krishna Lila. You don't get Vamana Lila. You don't get Kritu. You don't get, right?
Yeah.
That's frosting, right?
Okay. But now
baby Krishna. You get just Prince Krishna.
All right. So now, Raghunath, this is the way that I think we can look at this, right? Is that this entire Vedic literature is meant to take you through 3 different existential shifts. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just coming up with this right now, but I think this works, okay? So in other words, say you're just like a flat out cold materialist. As far as you understand, this material world is meant for me to enjoy. There's no rules. There's no one to thank. There's no one to be grateful for. It's just a totally empirical kind of way of looking at life. I've got this body, I got these senses, and the whole point is to satisfy them. And I'm not listening to anyone about anything about it. I might hurt someone when I try, but the goal of life is to satisfy my senses, not that other person's senses, right?
Yeah.
So I'm moving through the world, and I'm harming others due to my own lust and greed, and it's coming back at me. It's coming back at me different ways. I need an existential shift, right?
I need a paradigm shift.
So shift number 1 is like, hey, the Vedic literature is going to speak and say, if you act, don't you see that like there's reactions for everything that you do? So if you really want to enjoy life, learn how to operate with the laws of nature.
Right.
Learn how to be kind to others. Kindness is going to come back to you. Learn how to be generous with others. Generous is going to come back to you many times. So if you really want to enjoy life materially, learn how to do it in harmony with nature, in harmony with the gods. Feel a sense of gratitude for everything they give you, and you're going to have a much happier material life. That's existential shift.
You know what's
number 1.
interesting is like if you're a full-blown modern day materialist and you hear something like this, or like you think, oh, I'm going to please the gods and then I'll get more pleasure. Yeah, right. But these Vedic teachings are so darn real. They actually work.
They actually work. I've been worshiping Shani for the past month, and I can tell you.
And I'm oh man. Anyway, I was thinking like even something as simple as eating, like in the 17th chapter, they talk about eating in the gunas, with the gunas.
Yeah.
And so there's foods you can eat that are in goodness, passion, and ignorance. And how you eat, for example, suppose you love chocolate.
Okay.
Now, I've eaten chocolate so fast that I barely taste the chocolate.
Okay.
Ever eat so fast? You probably don't. But
no, I've
anybody who
done that,
can
right?
relate to me here, you
it.
eat so fast, it's like you can finish something.
You got to catch yourself, right? It's like,
what
am I doing here?
It's not good for digestion, first of all.
You don't feel good after.
Fast. And it actually minimizes how much you look. Because if I give you a little piece of chocolate, even a little piece, what to speak of a giant, ever see those mega chocolate bars? Ever eat one of those? If I give you
got them at Trader Joe's, they're like huge, and they don't even cost that much, right? It's like, are you kidding me? It's like $4 for that huge thing.
That seems fair. So you could take a little piece of chocolate. You know how much enjoyment you could get out of that if you just eat it slow, like. Just little bites and let it sit in the mouth. So sattvic diet, just sattvic living, there's actually more pleasure in sattvic life. If you want pleasure, follow the Vedas. It'll teach you how to have more pleasure.
Okay, there you go.
Right. All I'm saying is it sounds so crazy. Oh, I got to worship the demigods and then I'll get more pleasure. Nah, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. No. Even if you want more pleasure, add the Vedic teachings to your life. It'll actually make you enjoy, even if you want to be a better materialist.
Yeah.
You got to get out of tamas.
The lower gunas.
And
even if you take away the demigod worship, the point is still that law of karma is in effect. So like, in other words, the idea is if I'm kinder to others, kindness will come my direction. If I'm generous with others, generosity is going to come my way. So even if you took out that whole worship element of it, still the karmic element of it isn't entirely effective. So that's existential shift number 1, right? If I want to be a happier materialist, let me learn from the Vedas how to execute karma in such a way that it brings the highest benefit. It means I'm going to have to recognize there's someone beyond me, right? That I'm not like the controller of this whole thing, that the whole world's not revolving around me. So in that sense, it's a very helpful existential shift, right? I've gone from thinking I'm the center of the universe to like, oh, maybe I'm not the center of the universe, all right? So that's existential shift number 1. Existential shift number 2 is what we were talking about yesterday. is that now I've been trying to enjoy the things of this world, but I see that my enjoyment is always followed by misery. It's tied in. It's the opposite side of the same coin. You can't get one without the other. Material enjoyment necessarily comes with material suffering. I see it. I see it more clearly than I ever saw it before. Existential shift number 2, renounce. Right? So we've gone from karma to jnana. Now I've got knowledge. I'm seeing it for what it is. I want to leave the things of this world behind, live a more simple, renounced life, and find a deeper happiness that way. Okay, that's existential shift number 2. But then and Upanishads will take you there, right? But existential shift number 3, which is Gita and especially Bhagavatam, and what is being spoken about here, is that ultimately my true nature is that I'm a lover of God and a lover of every living being. So through devotion, right? Through connecting with devotion or connecting with love to my very source of existence, I experience the highest bliss, the highest truth, that, the highest nature of existence is found through devotion. And so that's existential shift number 3. So now Prithu, he's at existential shift number 3. He's already there, right? He's already situated in devotion. So he's saying, you're offering me material things, right? In the Vedas, you offer people material things, but what does it lead to? People just get bewildered by that. And I'm beyond that now. So I have no interest in those things, right? Mm. And you know what verse that reminds me of? This is coming out in Bhagavad Gita.
Yehisham Sparshaja Boga.
That's a good one too.
Is that what you're thinking?
I was thinking of a different one, but I was thinking.
How about this one? From the highest planet of the material world to the lowest are all places of suffering where repeated birth and death take place.
Another good one, but focus in on, he said, I think he used the word bewildering here. Yeah, bewildering.
Bewildered by the 3 modes of material nature. That one?
These are all very excellent choice, but I was thinking of Bogaishvarya Prasaktanam.
Bogaishvarya Prasaktanam Taya Parita Chetasam Vivasyatmika Buddhi Ekaha Kuru Nandana.
Close. Samadho na.
Samadho na vidhiyate.
Now look at little Karuna over there. She's like playing with her hair saying, I don't know that one yet. I wish I knew that one. That's a good one to learn, Karuna, right there. That's
Saragrahi's
244.
Like, you didn't pronounce it correctly.
That's right, you didn't
pronounce it correctly. The Sanskrit bullies coming after me.
But I try not to do that because I know I mispronounce things all the time too. But yeah, the translation of this verse, this is, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is speaking so much about like karma and will we suffer because of our actions, and will this bring bad karma? He's thinking from that existential shift number 1 platform. And Krishna's saying, hey, why don't you come take another couple existential shifts, right? Leave that stuff behind. So he says, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment.
Let me see if I can remember this one by heart.
Okay.
In the minds of those who are too attached to Boga and Aishwarya, sense enjoyment and material opulence.
Yes.
The resolute determination for devotional service cannot take place.
Yes.
So that word they use as Samadhi, resolute determination for devotional service. Samadho na vidhiyate.
Yeah.
So if you're too attached to Boga, material sense enjoyment, and opulence, then you
never have a fixed mind.
You'll never have a fixed mind. The mind will just be I want this, I want this, I want that, I want this.
This is the
entire. They're bewildered by such things. I forgot that.
Yeah,
you're attached to them and you're bewildered by them. Like you think, yeah, if only. I mean, how many times have we said that? If only if I had that.
You're bewildered, right there.
If only I had that new electric car.
Mara, are you happy now, Mara, that you got this fancy electric car? You see, it's working now, Mara, but it's going to come around, and sooner or later, someone's going to key your car door or something like that. Yeah. Oh, you see the pain already. She's feeling it already.
It's going to have a gigantic touch screen on it. You're like,
yeah. I bought it 1 year too early.
I should have got 1 year too early.
I should have waited. This is Prabhupada's entire commentary to that verse from Bhagavad Gita 244. He says, Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti, I bet Sarah Grahi and her husband, they know all about the Nirukti dictionary, right? They're probably like,
They probably talk about the Nirukti dictionary over dinner.
if they probably do.
Of course.
Well, that's Monier Williams, but the Nirukti has quite a different definition of samadhi.
Quite different definition.
So Nirukti, so samadhi.
Can you
means,
pass the cauliflower, please?
so the Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti.
Ask to pass it in Sanskrit. Oh, okay.
I can do that. So the Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti says samyag adhiyate smin atma tattva yatatmyam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyment and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less, this is heavy, Prabhupada just, sometimes he just kind of hits you over the head. He gets a little blunt sometimes. He says, they are more or less condemned by the process of material energy.
Who's condemned?
People that are too bewildered by material enjoyment.
They're condemned by by material nature.
That's how material nature works, right? It brings you up, then it brings you down. It brings you up. If you're attached to that, you're condemned. You're going to go through the ups and downs. You're going to get dragged along with it, right? As the material world is moving up and down, if you're attached to it, you're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down.
Everybody should. This is the homework for today. You got to write 3 things. Write down 3 things that can simplify your life.
Oh.
How about that? 3 things that can simplify your life.
Declutter. When's the last time you decluttered, Raghunath?
Yesterday. How about that?
Is that true, though?
Smart Alec.
Is that true?
No. That's not true. No, it's not true.
Okay.
My whole life is clutter. Clutter. You should walk into my closet one day.
I was going to say your garage. Your garage is like...
Oh, his garage looks good now.
Really?
Yeah, thanks to Sierra Half from Scranton, who came over on the Sable weekend. And
Scrantonian came and decluttered? What, they were like, Raghunath, do you really need this? Was it like that?
No, it was like, Raghunath, what is this? And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what it is.
We're throwing it out.
What is this tool, Raghunath? Have you ever used this tool? I was like, no, I don't know how to use tools.
But we know if we can, it's a fact, if you can here's a takeaway, ready? If you declutter externally, it will also
Wait a second. You can't claim your own takeaway.
I'm claiming it right now. We're almost at takeaway time. I can frame a takeaway if I want.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So if you declutter externally, it helps to declutter internally. In other words, if you can declutter your home, it helps to declutter your mind. You're either like I don't like it, or I wish I said it. I can't tell, but you're not satisfied one way or another. It's one of those two.
How about just getting rid of clothing?
All clothing?
It's clothes that I might have never worn in 5 years.
All clothing? You mean like clothing entirely?
Clothing. Yeah, just you naked with the kangaroo.
Right. Mara, I think it's time for takeaways. Yeah.
Naked kangaroo. Oh man, somebody sent me a kangaroo. A guy someone sent me a little video of a guy running and he tripped and a kangaroo is attacking him. Everybody's sending me kangaroo memes lately. Okay, go on.
All right. Be content with the least.
Be content with the least.
Or find contentment in simplicity.
Okay.
Find contentment with simplicity.
In simplicity.
Your takeaway is the nugget.
Yeah.
Make your takeaway the nugget. How about that for a takeaway?
All right. Uncontrolled senses can't be satisfied.
There is a kangaroo emoji. I didn't realize that. What was that last one?
That was such a good one.
Say it again.
Uncontrolled senses can't be satisfied.
Nope.
Never.
That's a good t-shirt.
Turning up the comfort level makes us intolerant.
Oh.
It does. That was mine.
The AC. Good order.
I pass the fickle mind.
I'll throw you a little treat. You want like a little. There you go.
Would only watch if I was an other, I'd only watch it on YouTube. Okay, go on.
Bypass the fickle mind.
Spiritual bypass the fickle mind.
Bypass the fickle mind.
Get swept up in a transcendental riptide. Raghunath.
No, that's a double analogy. Look at Catherine A. She's taking a
Double
cold
metaphor.
dip right now. Her cold plunge.
And
What? Say that again.
get swept up in a transcendental
Don't get swept
riptide.
up. It's get carried away.
Okay, that was a
You can't
mixed
get
metaphor.
swept and then you can't get swept and then put in the ocean for a riptide. That's too much.
No. If you look up the word swept, it might not just mean just brooms, Raghunath. Many things can sweep.
Mm.
Hmm?
All right.
Minimize and refine our desires.
Minimize or refine.
You can correct the takeaways, but you have to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minimize or refine our desires. You know what? I like perfection of desire. I think
Okay.
that would have been a lousy album cover. Shelter, minimize and refine your desires. I'm not
Is
gonna buy
album
that.
covered now?
I'd look at that record cover. I'd be like, I'm not buying that one. Okay, next.
Declutter externally to help declutter internally.
I just came up with that one right at the end, Raghunath. That
Listen,
one was mine.
people, if you want a good takeaway, it's got to be like it's got to be like the name of an album.
No, it doesn't.
Like Led Zeppelin.
Does not.
Now read that. You'll tell. Yeah, that's how it's a good takeaway. It's got to be like not the band, but the name of the album. So let's hear that again and think of it as like Led Zeppelin. What
So,
is it?
Mara, go back and let's do that the correct way now, okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Our desires should bring us higher.
Name of an album. That's the name of an album.
Bhagavatam is the
How
frosting.
about just higher desire?
Ooh,
Higher
Desire.
desire.
That's an album. That's an album.
Desire. Bhagavatam is the frosting.
Bhagavatam.
It's a weird album, but it's an album.
And
Shelter.
savor the,
Bhagavatam is the frosting.
savor the chocolate.
Yo, this one's off Bhagavatam is the frosting. This cuts off a new record. Bhagavatam is the frosting.
It's called Bake a Cake. Make a transcendental cake. All right. What was the last one, Mara?
Savor
Oh,
the
that's a
chocolate.
good one, Raghunath. They're getting you on the board right now because you said it's got to be like a Zeppelin title or something. But Led Zeppelin's records are Led Zeppelin 1, Led Zeppelin 2, Led Zeppelin 3.
They were minimalists,
Okay.
except for their hair.
All right.
Okay. Hey, come here, kid.
And what was the last? Was there the final?
Savor
thing?
the chocolate.
Savor the chocolate. No, that's just bewildering to savor the chocolate. Savor the devotional service. Right?
All right.
Chocolate's a
Okay.
metaphor. Kaustubha.
All right.
Oh, savor the
Okay.
devotional service. Okay, like it. Okay.
Metaphor.
Turin's
for
feeling
helping me with
sick.
that.
Should he go to school or not? Let's take a vote on the board. If
What
you get
are
enough
symptoms?
votes for stay home from school, what are your symptoms? What? Can't breathe for a second, he says. He couldn't breathe for a second. I'm always
Did you ever
choking
do
on
that
my
thing when
breath.
you were a kid, Rogan?
What else?
I
What
couldn't
else?
breathe for a second.
Oh, he had sleep apnea last night. He went, "Bleh."
Did you ever do
Right
that
when
thing
you
when you were
woke
a
up.
kid, Rogan?
That's why you don't want to go to school. That seems reasonable.
Did you ever do that thing where
What's that?
your mother's taking your temperature to see if you can go to school, and then when she's not there, you put it against the light bulb, and you increase the temperature, and then you shake it back down? Did you ever do that?
I did that.
I never did
Never
that.
did
You know,
it?
I actually
Papa Tony?
liked school. I actually liked school.
Really?
If I skipped school, I wouldn't tell my parents. I would just go fishing. I would just not go. I wouldn't get permission to not go. I would just not go.
Did you get in trouble?
They didn't know.
They had a pretty.
I had this whole
Lenient school.
system set up where I had someone at the school check that I was there, and I didn't get the AWOL. I don't know how I did it, but I was sophisticated in my criminal activities.
All right.